So this particular PPT will give you a little more understanding of what exactly is that continent talking about, right? So the most important thing, our literature goes back to how many years back? Any guesses? 5,000 years ago, right? So India as a country is very strong with its religion, yeah? And if you read a little more about religion, how literature is connected to religion, right? What is literature? It is by and large the reflection of our society. And what is society? It is a group of people who put themselves together, have same kind of language, same kind of food, same kind of belief, and very strongly a God in which we all believe, right? But back in India, the gods and goddesses are plenty, right? Linguistically we are diverse, food-wise we are diverse, language-wise we are diverse. So if you say you speak English, you may speak French, you may speak Spanish by choice. But in India, most of us speak at least 5 to 6 languages when we travel from one state to the other. You understand how diverse and how culturally different that part of the world is, right? Well, there is a very simple complex which we all deal with, which we call as colonial complex. What is a colonial complex?
Every
You wear a
person,
British
they
colony?
can answer. If you want them to answer, they should answer. They should know
Yes,
what
I am very
post-colonial
happy to
means.
answer.
For sure.
What is a colonial complex?
Artie, what does colonial and post-colonial mean?
She just threw you under the bus.
Colonial, it,
Colonies?
yeah, I just struggle to process words, it's fine.
It's okay.
Colonies referring specifically to, settlings made by invading, foreign nations for usually a goal of conquest.
It's basically
Good job.
you usurp somebody else's space. And we got usurped as a country several times. Right? So the last of the last was the British colony that we were. Okay? So let's say in my generation there were 3 generations back who have all lived with British people around them as Indians. Right? So what is the biggest thing we picked up from them is a colonial complex. What is a colonial complex for us? To speak good English, to write good English, and you get employed better if you speak the language as Queen's English. Correct? So you know there is a difference between an American English and a British English. So there is also an Indian English, which is Indian writers, Indian diaspora, expatriate writers, people who are Indians but live in another country and write about different stories, right? So a lot of complexity is there in our literature, and this is only I'm talking about English work. What about all those language work which comes to the forefront now? So there will be, what you are seeing was a South Indian state, Tamil Nadu, where the poets started talking about women's sexuality, which is a big no-no at that point of time. Right? You do not like women celebrating their own body. You want men to write about you, how beautiful you are, how beautiful are your different parts of your body, right? That gives a kick to the men in general in India. But if a woman starts writing about her own breasts, she was condemned. She was pulled into the society as a whore. as a woman of not of a good character. And this film which is made is a students of a particular school in Mumbai, which is called as Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and the faculty there, like Collins and me, they put this film together. So it's a very academic pursuit, but it won a lot of accolades. Why? Because nobody knew about these Tamil poets who wrote in Tamil as a language. And then it went universal. It's not very recent, it's an old film, but I wanted you to understand that the female voices are not very well accepted across the globe. Some of them are not just once removed, twice removed from reality. You are marginalized twice, thrice in different ways, right? So, I understand you take a lot of discussions in the class and you understand, but I'm just bringing you a very different way of looking at it, being from that part of the country. This is about me, deeply, obviously. Okay, this is the language map of our country. This is how India looks. So the poets are from here, right? So here they speak 4 different languages: Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam. And I speak 3 of them. Okay? You move to the central India, you speak Hindi, the Bollywood films, which you see. Yeah? Up north, you have different languages, but Hindi is prominent. The Bollywood language is prominent. Like, if you say Hollywood films, 90% of the films are English. But there will be films which are made in other languages as well. They may not have that kind of audience. Similarly, in India right now, the films which are made here, the films which are made here, the films which are made here, and that's Bollywood in the West. And up north, Punjabi, Monsoon Wedding is a Punjabi film. Who are Punjabis? Who do Bhangra. What you saw in the wedding. Yeah, you have a loud drum beating going on, and they feast. They celebrate marriage. Indian marriages are not like in the church. They are 3 days, 5 days. And a celebration, a lot of money, right? Okay, so these are some of the ways in which Indian literature has been written. Would you like to switch off this slide, maybe this
Could
slide?
you do that, Marnie?
Oh, God.
Yeah, this one?
Not
No,
that one.
that's
No,
not
no,
it.
no,
Don't
no, no,
touch
don't
that.
touch that.
We
That's
already-
a screen.
we
It
learned
was
that
a whole
the-
half hour.
We learned that the hard way.
We learned that, but let's try, yes.
Oh, that turns everything off, though. I
Okay.
don't know what
Wait,
that
Turn the
does.
everything
see
off,
the
turn the
screen?
everything
Do you want
off,
everything off? Is that okay?
and then
No, no,
turn
no,
on
no,
that
no,
little
you-
light.
That looks like we are in a theater.
Wait, what's this? Ah.
Oh yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
This
don't see
room,
this.
We
this
will
room
figure
is,
this out today.
this room's
Okay,
brutal.
just saying, I have a son who is 32. He is a corporate lawyer. My daughter is a digital marketer in Australia. And I'm here for 6 months as a Fulbright scholar. KU and of course the Professor Collins have been very kind to bring me here to your class. I love this audience. In India, we teach minimum 70 students at one go. Minimum. So I just told her I love this part, that there are students who can listen to me and for sure take something from this session. I do not want to talk about a boring PowerPoint where a professor just loads you with information. I'm telling you just facts. You should know that how literature is universal, right? Okay, so these are some of the themes. I'm not going to read all of them, but these are the ways in which literature is formed in India. So you can see, Indo-Anglican is the colonial impact. The English who lived for 180 years were Indo-Anglican. Anglican as in the Britishers who were in India. They had their own British ways of doing, but they Indianized themselves. They started liking the Indian food. They had marriages with Indian families. And they continued settling down there. They never went back to Britain after the independence, which happened in 1947. Okay? So these are some of the writers, some of which, of course, your professors will bring into the class, but these are the must writers. He got his Nobel Prize, Rabindranath Tagore. Premchand, who speaks about North India. Stories are all about the challenges which the rustic life goes through. Okay? You will have no idea of what kind of challenges people have in other parts of the world. It's only when you read the literature or you see it in a form of a film, you figure it out, right? Here comes our discussion. From the point of women, what exactly do the Indian writers do? Well, they speak about, there are names like Sarojini Naidu, Nayantara, and Rama Mehta. Then you come to Kamala Das, Anita Nair, Susan. Then this is something which most of you know, Arundhati Roy, who wrote God of Small Things, and it's this big a book. But we all as literature person ended up reading it because it won a Booker's Prize. It had an international recognition. And I found the book initially very boring. Why? Because if you don't have a moving story, you are restless. You do not want to delve into the narrative, but it picks on you gradually. You start living in that place, which is a remote area of Kerala, that is south of India. I'll show you another map for that. Okay? These are some of the other ways. This is,
Uh-oh.
I didn't know.
Just touch the one that you're on again. It's highlighted. I can see it on the left. See it, the one on the orange? Yep.
Okay.
I can click you through.
I think I'll go there, that's better.
I didn't
Okay.
even know. This
So
room
this
is
is the
smarter than
previous
I am.
slide we did.
Yep.
And we go to the next one. Here, okay. Dalit experiences are the kind of people who did not get treated well by the other levels of the society. And Dalit literature by itself is a huge kind of work. You people online can even check some Dalit writers who are blogging. There are groups which write on Dalit literature. And please don't say that, well, I am not interested. You can say you are not interested once you have known about it. You like or dislike after you know about it, is my principle, right? So if you say a soap is not good or a content which you're watching is not good, you can only say that after you've seen it, correct? So there are these other options which you have. Identity exploration. Shashi Deshpande does a fantastic job. Chitra Banerjee. There is somebody in the next slide which I will talk to you about. So when she said, well, I love South Asian literature, these are some of the themes. What do you mean by South Asian literature? The literature which comes from India and the separated Pakistan. Then you also have on the side Bangladesh. Okay? And the best writers are from these places. The best music comes from these places. The best food. Right? We are very hot and our taste buds are very strong when it comes to food. Right? Yeah. So these are some of the other things, but I want you to see the last one, which you are not aware of. Do you know this? What is caste? Who cares? But we care in India.
You guys know the caste system?
Yeah, anybody that read
Come
Bandit
on.
Queen with me has spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Bandit Queen is one of the best films. How many of you have seen Bandit Queens?
Fulan Devi.
1, 2, 3. Okay? She was paraded naked in the village multiple times after being raped. Can any woman look at that kind of insult. And the movie shows that. It gets you goosebumps when you look at it. And you justify that she better become a dacoit and just kill everybody she wants to. Right? It's a real story. Here I got another student. Yeah? Alright. It's very difficult to sum up a lot of things, but I just wanted you to have a little more of this. So this is the partition problem we had. When in 1947 the country separated into Pakistan and India. We also call it as Hindustan, right? So most of the people who wanted to follow Islam and were hardcore Muslims, they moved to Pakistan. And all the Hindus, most of them moved to the Indian part of the partition. Language wise, caste wise, state wise, as in province wise. So certain provinces like we call as Sindhi is not there in India, but it is one of the richest communities, which ensures that all the people from that community are taken care of. You will hardly find anybody having a financial problem in that community. So the community is important for a lot of people, right? So the religious identity, then the cultural complexity. I told you in the previous slide, there are so many caste issues, language issues. You are from north, I am from south, he is from west, she is from east. Of course that you will also have. The English which somebody from Ohio speaks is different from somebody who speaks in LA. Am I right? Yes or no? Accent is different, tone is different, food is different slightly. The way you cook, the way you eat makes us different people, right?
I'm happy to see the last word on that slide, hybridity. We've talked a lot about that.
Yeah, that's what it's called, Oriental. Yeah. What is the opposite of Oriental?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Occidental.
Occidental, yes.
I don't use those, but that's a good word. Yeah, I don't usually use those words. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was there some time back. So these are the themes. If you see, they are identity, linguistic, cultural, multilingual, and translation. We have come to translation now. She Writes is a Tamil collection of poems, which is not even Hindi, which is your Bollywood language, right? So why do we like it? We'll see that. Okay. So a lot of these writers have used the Indian diaspora, which means you use the cultural, the language, the ritualistic, the caste, all the complexities in your writing because you are from one of them or you were from one of them. Do you remember somebody called as Salman Rushdie? He got into trouble with his book. Which was the book? Freedom at Midnight. Why was the book a controversial book? It was banned in India. Remember, when anything is banned, what happens? You want to see more of it. You want to pick up more of it. You want to buy more of it. Yeah. Am I right? That's human psychology. So if an ad is banned in India, you will see that the internet is flooded with that advertising, with that film, with that book. Okay? So there are people who are looking at home as that something which is India, something which is Bangladesh, something which is Pakistan, but they never go there and live. Right? So you have that imaginative utopian place, which is you aspire to be, but you don't want to be there. So it's like you always want to go to US, but you don't want to say you are happy in US. Right? Then don't come. Now this is something about women. What is the first one? Gender oppression. And believe me, that is international. That's not just Indian. In fact, you'll be very surprised that thousands of years ago, we had the concept of Swayamvar. Swayamvar means I choose my groom myself. How do I do that? There are a lot of princes, prince as in prince plural, many princes in the hall, and this king will take his daughter with a garland and tell her, you just go and pick up whomsoever you want. Now that's not suppression, that is freedom. But as the years go by, you feel that women who are called as weaker sex are definitely not weaker. I think they are the strongest when it comes to the mental levels, multitaskers. You must have seen your moms, your sisters, yourselves, right? So I'm not here to fight for feminism. I'm not here to say that, well, women are superior than men, but they are no less, right? And for all these girls in class, please love yourself first. Then love your boyfriend, then love your husband, then love others. Because the loving part is never ending for a woman. She is expected to put in so many hats where she forgets to love herself. Do you agree with me? Will you love yourselves first? All the boys who look like a minority here, they don't have a voice. Yeah?
We're nice to them.
Okay, so Ismat Chugdai writes a short story on the quilt, and she talks about, if at all you have read that story, it is about lesbians. And this is early 20th century. In India, where there is so much oppression, how can a woman writer talk like that? Has she lost her mind? What kind of resistance she must have faced at that time because of her writing? Because the men around her were scared that this woman will dirty the society. Okay? I'm just saying a perspective, no generalizations here. Societal violence is common. We just saw one film in my documentary class. Sorry, that's how I got a little late with on acid attack. And 9:30 in the class, my students were like, "Oh Lord, this is so nationally and internationally happening everywhere." Right? It's not important to us because it has not happened to us. It has not happened to my family. But God forbid, if something like that happens, that family is really going through a tough time. Right? That is oppression. Why does that happen? Because you don't let that girl die. You ensure that you make her look ugly by putting the acid on her face. That means she either loses her nose bone, she loses her ear, she loses her eye, or her lips. And she definitely becomes physically to look ugly. Right? Okay, so that's another aspect which, the writers talk about. Yeah, I think this is something which is the writer's experiences from initial stages to the later ones. I have given the PPT to the professors. You can all read the text when you are a little more.
Yeah, I'll put it on D2L.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you too.
These are some of the writers who have made internationally and nationally a lot of recognition. there is one writer called as Sarojini Naidu. If you listen to her speech on the net, you will think she is either a Britisher or an American. That flawless her language was. But that was not the only language she knew. Right? So as Indians and as Indian professors, what do we tell our students? We say you learn English, you master English, but not at the cost of your own local languages. You should keep those languages alive, right? So we come to this. You saw a glimpse of the film. It's a 41-hour film which has got a lot of recognition. And who are these? These are 4 Tamil women poets. It has got a lot of recognition and awards. But the most important part of the film was the words being used by a woman for her own self, which is not very uncommon now. But back then, in this kind of a situation in India, they were condemned. They were asked to stop writing because they were messing with the society. Is literature not liberating? Is writer not somebody who should have the freedom to write what he or she wants? He, she, they, right? Okay, so that's the question. And when we were discussing, I told her this is a good film for your students. So this is the colorful map of my country, and she write comes from here. And what is the language here? Tamil. What's the language here? Malayalam. What is the language here? Kannada. What is here? Telugu. Here Marathi. Here Gujarati. Rajasthan is Hindi. MP is Hindi. Chhattisgarh is Hindi. Odisha is Oriya. Jharkhand, Bihar, West Bengal. West Bengal is Rabindranath Tagore. The Bangla, the language, right? As you go further up, you have Haryanvi, you have Punjabi, and you have Jammu and Kashmir. The most beautiful places are on top and also on bottom, God's own country. If you come to India, you will get these many languages, these many cuisines, and these many colorful people. We are very loud with colors, with embroideries, with silks, right? If you wear something very plain and pastel, we do that when we are grieving. Okay? Yeah. So these are those 4 poets, if you can look at it. The first one is Salma, the second one is Kutirveti, Malati Maitri, and Sukrita Rani. And each one of them, from their own domestic spaces, pull themselves out to make a place for themselves. Some of them wrote with pseudo-names. You know, when you talk about literature, a lot of women writers wrote with pseudo-names. They wouldn't use their own original names, right? Why? Because they didn't want to be recognized by people for the kind of content they were writing. They didn't have the guts to be courageous enough to say, listen, this is me and I'm writing this. So this problem, a lot of women writers in the form of poets, in the form of novelists, in the form of generally writers have faced across the globe. Right? I did my dissertation on Canadian women writers in 1990. And I didn't know how Canada looks at that time. But Canadian literature had come to India, to our department, and we loved it. And I did something from embroidery to tent, the journey of women writers. That was very interesting. Right? So, women as people who were supposed to be in a particular way, has run across the globe. If you speak little loudly, you are told lower your voice. If you throw tantrums, behave like a girl. Do you agree with me? You are told to sit properly. What are you wearing? We all have gone through it in some form or the other before we found ourselves. Am I right? You don't like somebody telling you something all the time. Once in a while it's okay. Right? We have another issue in India, which is if a family can afford to educate their children, they'll prefer to educate their sons rather than their daughters. Why? Because in the Indian system, the girls get married and go to the boy's house, whereas the son stays here and he gets married and gets a girl here. So the assumption is, if you have a son, in your old age, he will take care of you. Whereas if you invest in the daughter, she's going to go away. She's not your old age support. That's not true. It's just there on the paper and slides. The truth is, what if a family has only one daughter? Or if she has 3 daughters, the mother? She has to depend on the daughters, right? And will the daughter say, no, I will not take care of my mom? No, right? So they write about different things. And this is the controversy. Please read it to yourselves. What does it say? The film industry from Tamil Nadu, the south, lyricists and conservative groups condemn their work as obscene and immodest. Who decides what is obscenity, immodesty? Who has drawn those lines? That this language is vulgar. When you say a person is characterless, who is that?
I was gonna say man.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very true.
Yeah.
Do you say a man is characterless? Language bias. Well, we say God, He is Almighty. We don't say she is Almighty. But we have Devi, Shakti in India, who is a female power, who kills the demons and all that mythology. Right? So, why do we do all this for you? Because we want you to understand that different kinds of stories are there in different forms of literature in different parts of the world. You must know American literature, but you should equally know the other literature. Even if it's in translation, I may think it might lose its essence slightly, but still it is very important to know the context, right?
So Dr. Srinivas, there's about 5 minutes left. I don't know if you wanted time
Yes,
for
we are-
questions.
yeah, we are done.
Or,
So these are some of the other recognitions which it has got.
oh, perfect.
Thank
Let's
you.
look at that.